Hey, what's up? It's me again, making another video for this book club. Hopefully the waves behind me aren't too loud. I was out here taking pictures, so I figured why not just get this book review video since I finally finished the book today. So for this month, I was focusing on Call Sign Chaos by Jim Mattis. So probably a lot of people know who this guy is. Uh, Former Marine Corps, four-star general, also served a little bit as Secretary of Defense. I've been wanting to read this book for a while. Finally had a chance to read it, so I'll give you my thoughts on it. I have a few notes written down here. So the first part of the book was probably the best part of the book, in my personal opinion. And then it kind of breaks it down in three portions, right? It's tactical, operational, and strategic levels of leadership. And of course, me being at the tactical level, operational level, that kind of was more tangible for me. But the rest of it, I'm not gonna lie, was kind of boring for me, just because it's just the scope of responsibility, and it's just a lot of political things that he had to deal with towards the last part of his book, which I couldn't really see myself identifying with at the moment, right? But anyways, I want to talk about some good things I took from the book, and once again, some notes I have here. So I think the most important thing he talks about in the book that all of us could um, identify with is he talks about the three C's, three fundamental of leadership. So the three C's. The first one is competence. Be brilliant in the basics. Anything that doesn't contribute to winning is of secondary importance. Now, I think that's something that we hear pretty consistently is, focus on the basics, be a master at the basics, but he truly takes to heart, and he truly talks about how important it is to be brilliant at the basics, right? Performance is the absolute most important thing that you can do, especially a lot of his references are being a grunt, being infantry, kind of the shock troops, the ones on the front lines, and he talks a lot about those experiences. But anybody out there, it's important to, of course, know your craft skillfully, so you can be lethal when needed. The second C is caring. So a few notes I took down from that is nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. That's a really powerful one. A few months ago, I read Heart Led Leader, and talks about the same type of stuff. How us leaders, we should be leading from the heart. We should be leading in a way that people can trust on us, right? Not because I'm trying to be the highest performer and I'll step on anybody on my way up that I can, but more so that heart-fed leaders eat last type of mentality. Um, Show no favoritism. That's a hard one. With parents, I know parents always have a favorite kid, and I have a favorite pet, and sometimes it's hard to avoid favoritism, but it's extremely important, especially once you're in a leadership managerial position, to just make sure that you show no leadership. Sorry, no favoritism. This is one that I absolutely love about the Marine Corps, is that they value initiative and aggressiveness. That's a big part of being decentralized leadership. So, Jocko Willink in his books, Extreme Ownership, Dichotomy of Leadership, all those books that he writes, and he's also in the Navy, so I'm sure this rhetoric is popular within the Navy Marines. But decentralized leadership, and then just acting on initiative and assertiveness is important. And I feel like whenever I have the opportunity to, I try to make sure that clear intent, clear guidance, and then have at it, right? If you encounter a problem, it's a lot easier for someone to go through that problem or find a solution whenever they are rewarded for their initiative and aggressiveness towards that initiative. One more thing for leadership here, which is important, and I feel like a lot of us walk that slippery slope, or there's a fine line when it comes to where do you draw the line between being too friendly with your subordinates or too friendly with your leaders? And he kind of sums it up as consistently maintain a social and personal distance. Remembering there's a line you must not cross, but you should come as close to that line as possible without surrendering 1 ounce of your authority. So if you're in a position of authority, it's okay to be near that line, to be near your troops, to hear their complaints, to hear their troubles, to hear what they have to say, be approachable, have an ear for someone that needs to, talk to you. But at the same time, understand you do have that authority and do not cross that fine line. But he encourages come as close to it as you can. And last one I have on caring is you are their coach, rewarding the qualities needed for victory. So just like mentorship and coaching, never above you, never below you, always besides you type of mentality. It's not a lesson of, hey, here, this is how I got here, let me show you the way. No, it's more like, hey, I'm coaching you, this is where you're trying to go, let me help you with the steps needed to get there. And the final C of his 3 C's of leadership are conviction. So your peers are the first to know what you will stand for, and more important, what you won't stand for. So I think that's absolutely key, is having that clear guidance and those clear expectations when speaking to people, and just letting people know, like, hey, this is my what I will tolerate and what I won't tolerate. No questions asked. So be clear. And finally, to sum it all up, state your flat ass rules and stick to them. So whenever you decide what your intent, what your rules are, that you want, your SOPs, whatever you want to call it, write them, author them accordingly, and just stick to the plan. All right, so that was all chapter 1. So chapter 1, once again, super good info. Chapter 2 goes into command and control. He refers to it as command and feedback instead of command and control, which is subtle difference, but it's a huge impact, right? So he commands, but he's always continually asking for feedback on how he can make things better and how he can go about doing business. So another part he talks about in chapter 3 is the ability to work within a limited resource environment. So, being in my organization, right, in our institute, there's always going to be minimal manning, right? We're minimal man. We don't have the manning to do anything. So the way he tackles that, according to his book, is that whenever you're undermanned, shape a cadre to train the new troops. So that is a perspective I've never heard of before, and I think it's valuable, and I'll apply it whenever I get the next chance, since it's pretty regularly that you don't have enough troops or manpower to accomplish the mission. But according to him, whenever that happens, use that as your advantage. Kind of like Ryan Holiday has a book called "The Obstacle Is the Way," which was a few months ago that I read that. And in there, he talks about whenever we have obstacles, try to make those obstacles work for us. So if you have minimal manning or low manpower, use that opportunity to train those troops as best you can, or subordinates as best you can, so then that way when you do have fresh troops and a new manpower, they now can act as cadre for those newer ones. So I thought that was really important. Another one that I've seen a lot in the military, and I've seen a lot of debates, is when you're tasked with supporting other units, select those you most hate to give up. Never advantage yourself at the expense of your comrades. So I've seen this a lot before, where, for example, in my organization or my team, higher headquarters comes down and they're like, hey, we need a sharp troop to lead this initiative over here at this other group, or other squadron or battalion, or whatever your organizational structure is, right? A lot of us as leaders, right, we don't want to give up our best talent. We don't want to give our best people, right, because we need them. But according to Jim Mattis here, it's important to give their best up, because at the end of the day, it's not about me, or it's not about my squad, my platoon, or battalion, or whatever the case may be. If they're being sent up to a higher level to make a bigger, greater impact, then allow them to do that, and allow whoever's going to gain them have the best people possible for the job. So that was really important to know. So next time I'm in a situation where they're like, hey, we need you to give up so-and-so or some kind of body for this mission that impacts the whole entire base, not just, you know, your squadron, then all right, now I know based off reading this book that it's always probably going to be best for me to give up my best person and just train up the next one to take their place. And that's, for the most part, all the notes I have on the first 3 chapters. I think there's 19 chapters. But once again, the book was not bad. If I had to rate it 1 out of 5 stars, I would rate it a 3. Just because it does get, for me personally, it does get kind of boring after the first half of the book. The first chapters were the most exciting for me, and then after that, it's hard for me to stay engaged. Therefore, you know, that's why it took me so long to finish reading it. But I would recommend it if you have the time. But there's probably other books out there that you can read that's more worth your time. But it wasn't a horrible book. So that's my opinion. That's my feedback on it. On, once again, Call Sign Chaos by Jim Mattis. And one other takeaway from this too, though, is that on this Facebook page, this Facebook group that I have, the cover for the group is, you know, Jim Mattis. And one thing that I absolutely love about this book, though, is he talks so much about reading. And the whole reason I made this page or this group is because I understand the importance of reading or being educated in things that I have not experienced yet. And when it comes to the lives of those around you, he brings up very good points like, hey, you should be educated. You should be an educated leader and learn from the mistakes that others have come before us through history and through, you know, autobiographies or through other resources before we commit those same mistakes in combat. And that's a big reason why I started this professional reading club is, you know, to try to get as many, you know, books that can possibly potentially help, you know, at least one catastrophe, you know, in a leadership scenario. So that's what I do like about this. And throughout the whole entire book, he's referencing books that he's read and how these books have applied to, you know, everything from being a lieutenant colonel to being a 4-star general. And it's just it's a good kind of motivator to just keep on reading and keep on learning and never ever stop. He literally calls people stupid in the book that don't read enough. And he also says that in the Marine Corps, you're forced to, at every grade, whether an officer or enlisted, you're forced to read a certain amount of books. So then that one, everyone's on the same playing field. Everyone, you know, understands key concepts in, you know, history or any type of other books, right? And yeah, so just want to finish off on that good note. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. And once again, hopefully the waves aren't too loud.